Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So we know that last week, Gary Gensler, the SEC chair, testified in front of the Senate Banking Committee, and they covered off various different things around what areas he wants to regulate in crypto. Now, two influencers in the Bitcoin space, Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy and Raoul, who was ex-Goldman Sachs and an influencer in the Bitcoin space, they go head-to-head on a bit of a disagreement they had in terms of the definition of a security and how it should be handled in the blockchain space. Let's take a look.
Gensler says this to the Senate yesterday, I quote, "If it stays outside of the public policy framework for AML, tax compliance, and investor protection, it is not going to long persist," unquote. I think that's pretty clear.
So as you can see, Michael Saylor starts off by quoting what SEC Chair Gary Gensler said, which is that if it doesn't, if it doesn't follow KYC and AML laws, it's not going to persist. So basically, he's referring to all of those exchanges where you can still sign up on these leverage platforms and no KYC, no AML. He's saying, I know about them and I'm going to put a stop to them. And Michael Saylor said, look, that's pretty clear. And I think we're all in broad agreement that there's nothing wrong with doing that. Only those who have different kind of incentives are kind of saying that's wrong. So I think we're pretty clear on that, and Raoul was pretty clear on that. But let's see what he says next.
The issue I've got with all of this is I get the AML, I get the tax stuff. It's this stupid securities law from 1933, 1934.
So Raoul quotes the 1934 Securities Act, and we remember that that is what gave birth to the SEC, and the SEC had this jurisdiction to manage all bonds, stocks, and any other securities. And the aim is to create a fair and efficient market for everybody to invest in, right? They want to eliminate pump and dumps, they want to eliminate fraud, they want to eliminate all these other nefarious types of activities around securities. And that's what was created back in 1934. And this is what Raoul's referring to.
That doesn't make sense. It makes it highly restrictive in who is able to access certain things. It's that what is a security is we're trying to fit something into a wrong framework.
Yeah, Raoul, I mean, that's what the crypto guys
Because anybody can buy a house. If you say it's a property, everybody should be able to buy it.
Yeah, but Raoul, if I created my own Mikey coin and then I pumped it on Twitter and I dumped it on the retail population after I gave a bunch to a celebrity who then told the world it was great, it's illegal and it's unethical.
And Raoul hits back with a great example there. And we're seeing this a lot in the space, guys. I know a lot of people be burnt by these coins where, a teenager decides to flip up a coin somewhere in the world and they kind of message it on Twitter to a bunch of influencers and YouTubers, and before you know it, everyone's dumped, you lost your money, and the founders kept 40-50% of the bags, and they've run into the midnight sunset, right? So we've seen that happen a lot, and this is why the SEC exists, and I'm not sure why the crypto world, and Michael Saylor is expressing that as well, I'm not sure why the crypto world is taking so negatively to this. And I'll touch upon that a minute. Let's just finish this.
The truth of the matter is, if you have a centralized group of people creating a token, which is a security, giving it to themselves, and then selling it on the market and representing it as a decentralized property, you're crossing an ethical line and you're also crossing a legal line, and you can't avoid the ethical responsibility and the legal responsibility simply by saying, oh, it's new tech.
And what Michael Saylor makes clear really there is that, look, if you're failing the Howey's test, or sorry, you're meeting the 4 points of the Howey test, then you are a security, and therefore you should be moderated in the way that all other securities are, right? You should register yourself and you should trade as a security. And if you're not and you just dump it on the market, then obviously the SEC should be clamping down on this because that's unethical. And for those who aren't familiar with the Howey's test, this sets 4 rules that if you meet these 4 criteria, i.e. involves some money, an investment of money in a common enterprise with the expectation of profit, and fourth, that it's derived from the efforts of others, then you're deemed a security. Now, obviously, we know that we can come on this on a separate topic, but the stable coins doesn't meet the Howey test. So I'm not sure why Gary Gensler specifically is after stable coins, because nobody invests in a stable coin in expectation of a profit. So it doesn't mean that point on a Howey test, and that was brought to him by Pat Toomey at the Senate Banking Committee. So we want to find out, why do you want to regulate that one, or deem it as a security rather? I don't mind if he wants to regulate it, but he can't really deem it as a security. But in terms of the others, where we're seeing pumps and dumps on a pretty much daily basis, they're clearly meeting the Howey test and they're deemed a security, right? We've got to face the music on that one.
Nobody's saying that. What I'm saying is to classify it as a security is not the right way of stopping that. It doesn't stop it in equity markets. It doesn't stop it in the VC markets. It doesn't stop it at all. What it is it makes it more restrictive for people. Now, that nefarious behavior needs to be regulated.
If you understand securities law, you understand that they are securities. If I actually create 10 million tokens and I give 5 million to me and my four compatriots, and then we start marketing the rest, and we do it without a registration statement, without disclosing who owns the security, it is a security. You are violating securities law. The law is black and white. And so the only people that think it's not a security are people that don't know the law, right? If you look at everybody in the crypto space outside of Bitcoin, I think that most of them have never taken a company public. They don't have general counsels, right? They don't understand.
And look, I think Michael Saylor just takes Raoul to score there, because you can see, it's black and white. That is the definition of a security. And if you're following the law, then you shouldn't have any qualms about that. It's been straight as, it's been like that for a long time, 1934. And, I'm not sure why apart from people wanting to protect their bags, I'm not sure why people are holding such resentment to this. I've always been a proponent for regulation, right? It sounds ridiculous, but if you want to have a technology in blockchain that's going to be here for 5, 10, 15, 20, much longer years, we need a good regulatory framework, which is going to give us long-term returns, right? We're not here for a quick buck. And I think it's those people who are in for a quick buck that it gives it away when they're so anti-regulation. What I am anti is unclear regulation. That's exactly what Brian Armstrong from Coinbase is saying. He's like, look, we want to adhere to everything. And even CZ at Binance saying the same. We want to adhere to everything. It's just such a minefield with all these regulators not making it clear. And I think that's part of the issue, is that the regulators themselves, the SEC, are still learning this place. They're learning the environment. They don't know what's going on. And therefore, how can they stipulate what the framework is when they haven't even figured it out themselves? And that makes it even worse for the CEOs of these companies and operators within the field, because we're constantly going to be running into violations if they're making it up as they go along, right? And I think Pat Toomey at the banking committee made a good point. You cannot hold Coinbase or any of these other platforms liable to a framework which you haven't clearly communicated. And I think that's where we stand here. So I'm not sure why you've got Raoul and various other blockchain, influencers kind of being so anti-regulation. We don't want over-the-top regulation, of course, but to say that we need no regulation is also a bit misleading, right? We need a healthy amount. We don't need any that's going to disrupt innovation. We don't need any that's going to slow things down for CEOs. We want them to be able to build companies, build them fast, build them efficiently, just like we have in the SaaS world, just like how we have in the social networking space. The Western world has built the biggest and best companies in fintech, in social media, in any other enterprise. So there's no reason to say they can't do the same in the blockchain world with suitable regulation, right? All those other fields are regulated. Social media companies are regulated with data protection laws. And similarly, we have our security laws for financial companies. And I think it's fair to adhere to them. We can see, I know so many investors that have been scared away from pumps and dumps and getting burnt and losing their money and this. This needs to be regulated. I mean, stable coins need to be regulated as well. Whether it's a security or not is it doesn't meet the Howey test. We have to find, he has to, SEC Chair Gary Gensler need to explain if he feels that that's a security, why he feels it's a security. But the overriding message here is, people who are in this for the long run, like we can see Michael Saylor is, we're not against regulation. It just needs to be done in a clear, methodical manner without turning the screw too much, have a sensible amount of regulation so we're protecting the average person. And that's the key here. If you can create an efficient market with anti-fraud practices, which is transparent, you will grow the total crypto market. More people want to trade crypto, more people want to hold crypto, more people want to use DeFi, more people want to buy NFTs, more people want to use stable coins, and it will help the market grow. That's how it is. It's not a case of, if we have regulation, suddenly the market's going to collapse. No, your pump and dump coin might. And I think if that's what you're concerned about, then that probably gives away why you're so anti-regulation. So there you go, guys. A quick video on where we're standing around this regulation situation. I think a lot of people have their kind of wires crossed here. And I think they need to really go and study how other industries are being regulated and how regulation can be a positive. In terms of, if you look at other industries and when regulation came into cars and safety regulations came in for cars, that's when the industry boomed. And I think that could be a major catalyst for upside potential for our crypto coins. Not something that we should be so defensive about. We should be protective of the ecosystem and making sure that, we don't allow bad actors to come in and prevent growth for fast growing blockchain companies. But at the same time, we should welcome constructive regulation in the right way. And I think that's really important to kind of understand that nuance there. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you in the next one.